Welcome back to video number 2. You guys, I had to cover this just because I just could not believe the parallels between Wallis Simpson and Meghan Markle. You're definitely not going to want to skip through this. Watch it till the end, right down to how they hated each other's sister-in-laws and wanted to be the boss of the monarchy. Just watch this. This video discusses, you know what? It's about Edward VIII and Wallis Simpson when they were married and how their relationship was, because it's so close to Harry and Meghan. It is a little scary. We know that these two were married in a very opulent chateau in France on June 3rd. None of his family showed up, and the two of them just did not look happy. Yeah, just like none of her family showed up, although I'm sure it's for a different reason. It's just very odd. Now, there was a royal photographer there. His name was Cecil Beaton. He took the official photos, and he said that Edward looked absolutely sad. This took place about a month after the coronation of his brother. And it wasn't long after the wedding that Wallis Simpson had her very first affair. Apparently, she had a bunch of them. She never loved her husband. That's what they're saying. And the priest, the reverend who officiated this, did it in defiance of the Church of England's rules, which surround divorcees with living former spouses. And he was, by the way, later defrocked and would go on to open the Windsor Cathedral in Hollywood, which is beyond tacky. FYI, the reason he ended up with this guy was because the royal chaplain that he wanted was, torpedoed by his brother, the king. And his second choice had been the man who oversaw the parish in the Duchy of Cornwall, and that was also turned down. The place where they were married was loaned to them by a millionaire friend. Who else do we know that, uses millionaire friends for other things? Maybe it was because his own mother she sent him a little something, and he said, "I'm hurt and disappointed that you ignored the most important event in my life." Yeah, there you go. The article says, and I believe it, that she realized that he had given up the throne of the greatest empire in order to marry her. So if she kicked him to the curb, she'd be the most reviled woman in British history, which, now she's not. Somebody else is. The parallels continue because in the weeks up to the wedding, this gentleman, the Duke, had tried to get Wallis the status of Her Royal Highness and was told no. And remember that Meghan and Harry had their HRHs put into abeyance. They're not supposed to use them, but yet they continue to do so. And of course, they said they wanted a private, happy life, but private, with a measure of peace that they hoped they'd be able to get. Apparently, below the surface, even though everybody said this was one of the great, love stories, come to find out that was untrue. Do you know, you guys may not know, that Wallis Simpson had an affair with the U.S. ambassador to France not long after the wedding. And the Duke would apparently take his wife to a dress fitting, and she would slip out the back door for a rendezvous with this ambassador. And the British Secret Service was guarding them. And they said that if the affair had become known, it would be another embarrassment to the royal family. So the Secret Service was protecting her affairs and keeping them away from the Duke. No, I have no proof of Meghan having affairs, but there's a lot of chatter about it. Now, this is what the press reported. I want you guys to watch this.
Married at the estate of their mutual friend, Baron Rothschild. They were no longer young, and both had been cruelly hurt by the glaring invasion of their privacy. Still, they were together at last. Bravely, they faced an unknown future.
That's right. The press cruelly treated them. It's terrible. And now they're hoping to find a measure of peace. FYI, Wallis also had a long-running affair with Jimmy Donahue, the heir to the Woolworth fortune. Some of the information that came out was that Wallis and her friend Constance Coolidge listened to the abdication speech, and that Constance later said, "Could you imagine a more terrible fate than having to live up publicly to the legend of a love you don't feel, to have to face morning, noon, and night a middle-aged boy with no other purpose in life than a possessive passion for you." Oh my God, who does that sound like? You guys, seriously. Now, after both of them had passed away, of course, letters came to light. She never got over the husband that she was forced to divorce to marry the king. So she was miserable. I think he knew about the affairs. I think he was miserable. And I think, realizing that he gave everything up for her and that she wasn't even a faithful wife. Who does that sound like? Somebody who might be regretting his decisions for marrying somebody. So when you compare the two of them, they both gave up royal duties and titles for love, supposedly. There was talk about how Wallis hated her sister-in-law and wanted to be the star of the monarchy. Who does that sound like? We know that the two of them did quasi-royal tours, including one to visit the Nazis in Germany. They were wined and dined and did a few things in America. And they did tours that aren't tours that rub the family the wrong way. The exact same thing that Harry and Meghan are doing. Wallis Simpson was also, described as being ambitious, just like Meghan Markle. She was very difficult to work for, just like Meghan Markle. In 1936, some of the letters that Wallis wrote, she said that Edward wanted out of the monarchy, but she was being used as the ticket to get out. Who does that sound like? Let's be honest, guys, the parallels there are a little scary, seriously. One wanted out and was using the wife to get out, and that's exactly what Harry and Meghan are doing. I mean, it's just some scary stuff. All right, don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button and follow me over to video 3. You're not going to want to miss it. Let's go.